With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, is my good friend, my bourbon drinking buddy, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Mark, I'm doing good. We're on the table.
We are, man. We are live tonight.
That's right. We are live. We're on the table. We are not with the crew.
We're not with the crew.
Quick spoiler, not with the crew, but we are live around the table.
Yeah, man.
But I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good. You know, I just got back from a little mini vacation and went down to a beautiful Scottsboro, Alabama, and did some bass fishing on Lake Gunnersville. If there's any bass fishermen out there, they'll absolutely recognize that name. It's one of the biggest bass fishing lakes in the country. Unfortunately, I only caught one bass.
Biggest bass fishing lakes in the country, and you only took one out of there?
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things, Matt. But that's okay, because I got to spend time with my dad, and he's getting older, you know, so it's nice to be able to get out and spend some time with my dad. I got to spend time with my brother and my nephew, so it was some good quality family, you know, male bonding time. Took some good bourbon with us as well. So my dad doesn't drink, so he watches us drink while we're down there. But
has about as much fun as one can do watching other people drink, right?
Oh yeah, man. But we got a great show tonight, man. I'm really excited about it. Before we jump into it, though, I do want to thank all of our sponsors. We obviously appreciate everything that they do for us. So thank you all for that. And Matt, with that said, man, you want to tell everybody who we have with us?
Let's do it. I'm going to try to get all of these titles in here. I might need to take a big, long inhale here.
This is bigger than Jane Bowie's, you know, when she was the Director of Innovation and Master of Maturation, right?
That's right.
Even more.
That's right. So we have the president of Kentucky Owl Real Estate, the chairman of the Bardstown Bourbon Festival, and he is also the co-founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company. That's right. All one person.
That's right.
Not three different people on here. David Mandell. David, welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh yeah, man. David, it's great to have you here. And I appreciate the fact that you offered to come up tonight to Lexington from Bardstown. I mean, it's not a huge drive, but still, it's, you know, I just appreciate the fact you do it. And we've known each other for a while now, man. And we run into each other every once in a while. And we've talked about doing this and just have not had the opportunity to make it happen. But actually, I think we saw each other at Bourbon on the Banks.
We did, and we said we're definitely going to make this happen. We did.
We did.
And,
that's right, man.
I'll tell you, it's a real honor. So thank you.
No, the pleasure really is all ours. It's super kind of, like Mark was saying, of you to come up here and you don't see us going down to Bardstown on a school night here. So thank you. It's really kind. Really
That's
awesome.
right, man. It's a school night, right? Well, I just drove in from Alabama about 5.5 hours. So I don't know.
What would have been another hour and a half?
What would have been another hour at Bardstown, right? It wouldn't have mattered, right? Yeah. So
anyway, about us. We've got a great guest, and more importantly, we've also got great stuff to drink. We do. So David, what do we have poured up here in round number one?
Well, for the first round here, we have Kentucky Owl St. Patrick's Edition. And this is really a very, very unique product and story. The master blender of Kentucky Owl, John Ray, who is really just an incredible talent. This is a collaboration with him and Louise McGann, who is founder of J.J. Corey Irish Whiskey. And the idea was here to create a blend between two great blenders and celebrate the art of blending. And the two of them came together and developed this very, very unique blend. And it was a fun process. They did a great time doing it. And so you have a blend here of bourbons that are 4 to 11 years old.
Okay.
And give that a taste. I always like just allowing people to enjoy it
Sure.
and see what they think without me, trying to lead you in any direction.
And David, here's the way our show works. Matt has the palette and I have the show notes. And that's about the way it always works. So whenever it comes up, it's
it's good.
It's like, hey, Matt, I see you over there nosing this. What do you pick up on this, man?
Well, it's got a lot of the notes that you would give off, I think, Mark. There's a lot of caramel coming through with the nose. I pick up a good amount of caramel with it. Definitely the vanilla is there, your two big ones.
Yeah, man.
I pick up honeycomb, like not just the smell of honey, but like that.
The actual comb, the waxy kind of. Yeah,
distinct honeycomb smell. There's also like a little citrus, like a little tangerine or something kind of bright and zesty.
So Dave,
in there as well.
Is this you said it's a blend? Is this a blend of bourbons?
It is. It's a blend of all bourbons, and but the fun part about this was really just taking two different, very different styles of blenders. One, a very traditional bourbon blender. John Ray is the former COO of Four Roses. Been with him, tremendous career there. And Luis, who is, in the tradition of great Irish whiskey blending.
Yeah.
And putting them together to create this unique, this unique blend. And so they worked together. She came here. They sent samples back and forth. They developed this really unique blend.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And I think it's also something to watch because you're going to see more of this type of collaboration coming out of Kentucky Owl in the future.
Very nice. Very nice. So what's the ages you said? Somewhere between 4 and 11?
It's a blend of bourbons between the ages of 4 and 11 years.
Okay. Are they Kentucky bourbons?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. What's the proof on this one?
This one is 100.
Is it? Okay. I was going to say, because nosing wise, it didn't come across like super hot, which is nice. But I agree with Matt. I get a lot of those just very pleasant bourbon characteristics, but I pick up a little bit of an oakiness to it. So maybe
I think the age is definitely there.
Age coming through there on that. For sure. Maybe even like a little bit of a tobacco or something like that from an older bourbon, kind of sneaking through there for sure. So how do we do?
I think you did great. I'll tell you, it's really funny when we used to do a lot of these tasting panels back when I was running Bardstown Bourbon Company. We had a really great team.
Yeah.
Of course, we still have a great team there. And I remember they would always, as we were doing them, they were always trying to trick me. So we'd go into these tasting panels. I remember at the time, John Hargrove, who was running them, he'd lay them out. And,
Johnny Whiskey.
You know it. And, and Dan Calloway. What a great team. But, they would lay this out. And there were times where it'd be either the same product, it would be bad products. And it's like, okay, let's see if we can get, we can make David look stupid. And, that was always part of the fun. But it's like, okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It was a very productive exercise.
Yeah. Oh, no, we get that. Mike Hines from Nashville Barrel did that to us. He sent us some samples and we were tasting through on the show with him. And we were like, oh, yeah, this has got this and this and this. And we're talking about it like it's a bourbon. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shit, wait a second. I'm like, this is a rye, isn't it? He's like, yeah, it is. It's a rye. So,
yeah. And, look, I'm the last person that will judge in that regard. I truly believe, and I think, this is one of those things, but I really do believe that, you bring whatever you want to it. Some people taste all different things, but at the end of the day, it's really what you like and what you enjoy. And it's a very personal thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because to me, my descriptors are very minimal versus what Matt has. So it's not a competition because I always concede to Matt, but I agree. I mean, it's what you pick up, it's what you taste, and it's a lot of it is your memory. It's things in your past, whatever you're used to, whatever you experienced. Matt worked in the restaurant industry and worked in a bakery, so he has those those notes from those experiences. So it's helped him out a lot. And I'm jealous.
That's good. My descriptors are. That's really good.
Yeah. Wait, my new one, what was it, Matt? It's Yummo, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll pass on that. So, David, while we're drinking, man, just take a minute. Actually, take as long as you'd like, man. So, and tell our listeners about you because obviously Matt introduced you. there's a lot going on. So you've been a very busy man. You are a very busy man, but kind of talk about your past and your past experience and where you come from and how it is that you got into whiskey and where you are now.
Well, thank you. It really has been a remarkable career, and I'll tell you, and it's one that I've been lucky in many stages of it. But I grew up in Philadelphia. I went to undergrad in St. Louis. I came back. I went to law school. I'm a recovered lawyer. I know.
Yeah.
But
there's hope for me yet,
yeah,
right?
there is.
Thank you, sir.
But you're doing it right here. You're living the dream.
You
right?
got it, man.
This is it. But I went to Temple, and then when I came out of law school, I worked at a firm in Philadelphia, and I ended up in Florida.
What kind of law did you do?
Well, it's interesting. I did commercial litigation, and a little bit of the crazy story here. We specialized in election fraud as a big piece of it, and we represented Governor Ridge at the time. And I ended up being sent down as a young attorney to Florida during the recount in 2000.
Bush Gore.
I represented George W. Bush, and doing the military ballot arguments on the west coast of Florida. I had 3 counties.
No, good. Wow.
And,
Very
and
cool.
really, it was a remarkable, again, regardless of politics, it was a remarkable experience. And so when I came back, the chairman of the law firm said to me, you should be interested. You might be interested in working for the administration. Again, I'm like 25 years old. It's like, hey, sure, great. Why not? Right. So I ended up down at the White House and interviewing, and I became counsel to the chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. And we went in right after 9/11. And then she was appointed head of the FAA. So I went in as chief of staff of the FAA for 5 years. And really kind of crazy story.
I had no idea. I had no clue, man. Honestly, I mean,
that wasn't on the show notes there, Mark. Way to go.
My show notes are really subpar today. Damn.
Well, and this is funny because I'll tie in a little piece here. So we were on a trip, and this was 2002, and we were on a trip for the FAA, meeting with, at the time, Elon Musk out in Hollywood because he had the Falcon 9 rocket.
Yeah.
And it was literally was in a hangar in West Hollywood. So this is early SpaceX, and the FAA regulated and still does suborbital flight.
Sure.
So anything suborbital is FAA, anything over is NASA, right? So we wrap up the day, and that's its own fascinating story. But we wrap up the day, and we're staying at the Standard in Hollywood, and I meet up with Dan Lind, who you may recognize that name. He was one of the other founders of Bardstown Bourbon Company, and also the CFO. And we end up at the Mondrian drinking Red Bull and vodka at 1 o'clock in the morning. And we say to each other, like, what are we doing? Like, why can't you just make alcohol that doesn't make you tired? It's like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. So we come back, work on it nights and weekends. And 2 years later, I leave my job with the blessing, of course, of the administrator, who was a dear friend and today is a dear friend. Dan leaves his job. We moved to a 2-bedroom apartment, the Lower East Side of New York. Garnett Black, who was actually at the time worked with me at FAA. Her and her husband moved to New York. Wow. She was another founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Yeah.
And we start this company out of a 2-bedroom apartment, and we really learned the alcohol branded business over the next couple of years. And it was absolutely remarkable. That was an education. We sold it in 2009 to private equity. And I'd love to tell you that was one of those times where we all did great and it was a huge exit and everybody did wonderfully, but it wasn't. Yeah. It was a learning experience. And, we sold it at a time when you had the downturn, right after the financial crisis.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, but what we took away from that, and each one of these experiences that I've had in my life, whether it was as an attorney, as a lawyer, Pink Vodka, we took all that and then we poured that into Bardstown Bourbon Company. And so over the next couple of years, actually, Dan and myself, we started working in whiskey. And this is now 2009, 2010.
Yep.
And we saw where the industry was going. And my business partner, Peter Lofton, who we started working with, this is now 2012. I mean, it goes way back.
Sure.
We came together and we had the idea of let's build a distillery in Kentucky. So I came out to Kentucky and, where Bardstown Bourbon Company is. So I'm standing on the other side of Bardstown, and it was just that was just 100 acres.
Yeah, nice.
And so Kim Houston, who is the head of economic development, showing the property, and said, well, what about that over there? She said, you can't have that. Why not? Well, that's our best land. Now all of a sudden we want it. But what was funny is as we got into the business and we started with an idea to do a smaller distillery.
Yeah.
And as every great business does, it evolved. And at that time, it was myself. I hired Steve Nally. We brought on, we had Dan and Garnett were early founders, and Peter, and it was all of us. And so we were out there and we saw this incredible opportunity for these companies that were producing. They were producing with contract Heaven Hill and Barton and Beam, and of course those contracts were being cut off because everybody needed to keep the supply.
Right.
When you did contract production at that time, there were restrictions. You couldn't say where it came from. You didn't get the greatest customer service. So we saw this model. It's like, wait a second, why can't we do custom production for brands? And we'll make this our home and we'll celebrate it and we'll provide the kind of customer service that you find in other areas of the industry, but you don't see in whiskey. It's like, no, that's like a big idea. So I went out, sold the concept. We sell the entire concept of the distillery out before the capacity of the distillery out before we are even finished building the building.
Oh, man, that's nice.
And so then the question is, well, how do we do this? Right? And so it's not that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about complex manufacturing. Nobody had done it before. We didn't have anybody on the team that had done that. So you had, so as we're looking at it, we had to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we built and hired the most sophisticated group of folks that we could attract. We hired great operators from Beam and from Barton. And we had some great early, Tom Kroom, who ran Jim Beam's operations, hired him early on, and he helped us develop and really get this whole concept off the ground.
Yeah.
Then John Hargrove joined the team, which changed everything. That took us to the next level. We were able to really upgrade all of our technology and our efficiency. And so we ended up with a great team with John Hargrove and with Steve Nallies and then we built the restaurant,
right,
the bar, the visitor center, the brand, and I stepped down as CEO in 2019. And I'll tell you, it has just been and of course, the company sold about 4 weeks ago,
right?
But it's been it has been an absolutely remarkable and wonderful experience. And as I say this all the time, the story of Bardstown Bourbon Company is a story of an incredibly passionate group of people that came together at this moment in time, worked like crazy, and built this beautiful place. And the drive was not money. The drive was not trying to take something and flip it. The drive was to make a mark in the industry. And we did it. We built a beautiful culture there. We immersed ourselves in the community. I mean, I live in Bardstown. We all moved there. Dan moved from London. Garnett had moved, from Virginia with her husband. Everybody moved into Bardstown, and we absolutely loved it.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's a great story. And obviously, if people haven't been to Bardstown Bourbon, they need to go check it out. There's no question about it, because what you guys put together down there is special and unique. And they've always been welcoming to us. Dan Calloway,
what a talent!
Love Dan, just such a super nice guy. Anytime I've been down there, just he makes me feel like I'm the king of the world, and I'm just like this little piddly podcaster and Instagram guy.
They say we had these evenings down there that were like, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, and that's like what's so great about those early days when we opened the restaurant. Again, there was another part of the business we knew nothing about.
Right.
So the idea to open the restaurant came because that was originally, that room you stand in, that was originally just going to be the visitor center and that bar with the glass. Because you might wonder, why are those glass doors there?
Yeah.
Because that was going to close and be a tasting bar.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all going to be in there. But then when we got sell by the drink, and so that was the law that passed. Chad McCoy, Representative McCoy, helped us get that for the industry. Then we could run a bar. that gave us vintage whiskey.
Right.
How we built that. That's when we went out there and built that collection.
Yeah.
And so, but that was what changed everything. So we said, wait a second, hold on. If we can run a bar, why don't we open up a restaurant? Well, that's a great idea. Who knows how to run a
Who knows how to do it?
None of us. So we got down and we worked like crazy for 6 months, and we built it was that first year, called and named the best new restaurant in the state of Kentucky. And we had so much fun doing it, but it was really a remarkable thing because it brought the community together. Again, a celebration of making whiskey. And any given day you'd go in there, you'd have master distillers from different distilleries. It was like it brought the community together, and that was what was amazing. And it brought the community of Bardstown together too, the people.
Yeah.
So not just tourists, but also the people. And we focused so much on creating that kind of environment.
Yeah. And it's funny, because before then, obviously there's distilleries down there, right? I mean, there's a lot of distilleries down in Bardstown, and yeah, people go to visit, but Bardstown Bourbon really elevated that to an entirely new level to the point, people are writing articles about the Napa of bourbon.
That's it.
And that's really what you guys were able to build there.
We did, and I'll tell you, it's one of those things because you look at it and I think back at the work that it took, and I think of Garnett, who is been a dear friend and partner. The focus on building culture and how important that is from the HR standpoint, and building the team, and making sure a lot of work goes into that, but it pays off. And we focused a lot on that, but we also immersed ourselves in the community. And so when I stepped down as CEO, I had 2 years. So I was like, okay, what am we going to do now? Well, it happened to coincide with COVID, which was obviously a blessing and a curse for many things for all of us. But it gave me a really nice opportunity to spend a lot of time on things too that I could focus on in the community. So I took the role as chairman of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Yeah.
Right at that point.
Yeah.
And that's me. And they said, David, you've complained about this festival long enough. So now put your money where your mouth is, and you want to get involved and help us with it.
Yeah. Which is in Bardstown, right? And tickets are going on sale for that soon. Am I right?
May 11th.
All
and
right.
I'll tell you, it is, and we're going to talk more about it.
Yeah.
But you got to go kybourbonfestival.com, sign up on the mailing list. That's who is going to have the opportunity to buy the tickets first. This thing's going to sell out fast.
It'll sell out fast. It did last year, right?
It did.
Yeah.
And we got a new model this year too.
Okay.
Improvements. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
But it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful festival.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that more because last year we had Randy and we also had Steve Coombs was on the show with us, right? So they talked about everything. So it was fun to have them on. So
both of them are doing an incredible job.
Yeah. I mean, they are. There's no question about it. It's a great festival. So I'm happy to see you're involved with that, and we'll definitely discuss that more in the round. But people do need to get signed up.
100%. But I got to get back in the community, and so and then coming off my non-compete, I was approached by the great team at Stoli and Kentucky Al, who my history goes back a long time with, and I'm happy to tell you that story. That's a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
But they approached me and asked me to join them to really help, advance and take the project in Bardstown, the distillery project at the quarry, forward. And I was, very honored to do that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also, being immersed in the community just from a larger economic development standpoint. We've got a lot of very fun things that are happening on there, new boutique hotels. So I spend a lot of time working to help develop Bardstown further.
Nice.
And that's very important. It's very important to me.
Yeah, it is, because the weird thing is a lot of people come into town and they'll go to Louisville and they'll stay, and then they'll take a bus or whatever, take a day trip to Bardstown. But then they turn around and get on the bus or whatever, and they'll go back to Louisville or they'll go back to Lexington. And people don't, from what I see anyway, and maybe I'm wrong, but staying in Bardstown, there haven't been a lot of opportunities to do that, right?
No, there hasn't, and we've made a lot of progress.
Right.
We've got a great mayor in Dick Heaton. We have a wonderful head of economic development in Kim Houston who really see this, and we've had a number of new hotels all at sort of your Fairfield Inn and Holiday Inn Expresso, which is nice. That's great. That's important infrastructure. But where we're going now is we're developing the boutique hotels. And so one of the great projects that I've had the pleasure of being very involved in is the old Parkview Motel, which sits across from my old Kentucky home, Kurtz's Restaurant. We bought that. And that's, the Waylands out of Louisville, fabulous hotel group. Yep. So if you've ever been to Napa Valley, like Calistoga Motor Lodge, so these old motor lodges getting a facelift, a retro look, preserving the history, great pool, bar.
Yeah.
So very beautiful, cool. Same thing. There's two others that are same things happening in town. So exciting things coming.
Definitely sounds like it. So guys, I mean, I know we'll talk about the palate and everything on the Kentucky Owl in the second round, right, Matt? Yeah. So we'll do that. But let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more with David Mandell with all sorts of different groups and companies and organizations. Everybody just sit tight, and we'll be back in just a minute.
The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky. Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the second round period session, whatever you want to call it, of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. With me, as always, live in the Bourbon Life studios tonight is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Mark, I'm doing great. I feel like we are kind of sitting front row at an episode of like Storytellers.
Yes.
Here.
Like MTV Unplugged, man.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Because we've got a great guest that has absolutely blown your show notes out of the water with some of his stories so far.
What show notes, man? We don't even need these damn things, man.
Absolutely.
Not at all.
So he is the president of the Kentucky Owl Real Estate, also the chairman of Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and the co-founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company, among many other titles, past, present, and future. David Mandell is back. And David, where did we leave off?
You guys, you tell me. I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. This is so much fun, and I love doing this.
Awesome,
man.
It's
great, and it's just wonderful. I mean, what's better than drinking bourbon, talking about, the industry, telling stories, and being with you guys?
Well, we appreciate it, man. And that's what we love to do, because I'm an attorney as well. I still work in that boring, well, I shouldn't say boring. It's afforded me the opportunity to be where I am, right? So it has definitely served a purpose. But this, to me, is where the passion is. And
and it's very clear. And I'll tell you, you guys, not to divert the conversation too much, but you guys should really be very proud, at what you've done. I mean, you have a podcast that's, at the top, if not the top of the industry.
Thank you.
And so, when you do something that you love and you clearly love it, that's what it's about. And you can see, that's why it's successful.
Yeah.
Because the passion comes through.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's actually just the table. I just love the table, and that makes me want to podcast even more.
Yeah, we wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for all the guests that we've had on the show.
Oh, exactly right.
So willing and open with us.
Yeah.
I can think of maybe no one that we've encountered that hasn't been willing to share great stories, and of course share what's in the bottle and around the bottle is more important than what's in it. But all of our guests have just been really open. We've just been so appreciative of the opportunities we've had, because the chance to sit down on a Wednesday evening with someone like yourself or some of the other people that we've had, this is the stuff people dream of.
And that's what's really special about this industry. It's funny because you think about it, it's like does this really happen like other, in other alcohols? I mean, in other spirits, like, I don't know. Do people talk about vodka like this? I don't know. There's something about whiskey and there's something about bourbon and there's something about all of that just, it really works. And I actually don't know. I haven't really explored it, but like,
I don't think there are. I think, there's like whiskey. So there's, people talk about not just bourbon and rye. We focus on bourbons and rye.
Sure.
But there's other people out there talking about scotch and everything else that goes with that. And other types of whiskeys. We just don't, we have ventured in to those arenas. We've done some Irish whiskey. Before we had Keeper's Heart on not too long ago. So we talked about that with O'Shaughnessy Distilling. And some single malts, which we've kind of branched out into just a touch, which has been kind of fun for us because I'm just not it's not part of my world normally. So it kind of opens up some really educational opportunities to get to learn more about different whiskeys. But yeah, the bourbon and rye, and I don't know that there's other people out there in
others,
tequila.
Like others.
There's no tequila. There's no vodka.
There's no like malt-based beverage alcohol podcast where everybody gets around and talks about like White Claw.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. So, but bourbon, to me, lifelong Kentuckian, man. Bourbon, there you go, Matt. That's Bourbon Life bingo, right? Bingo. Yeah, from Eastern Kentucky. Okay, there we go. There's 2 Bourbon Life bingos right there. But that's what it is to me. It's about hanging out with people, making new friends, or hanging out with friends and getting to drink and share stories. And that's what people love about bourbon whiskey for sure. So we're thrilled to have you here hanging out with us. And I'm happy you're here in person because a lot of our recordings are shows, we do them through the computer, which is nice. We can see each other, we can talk, but you don't get that same. It's not the same.
No, it's about bringing people together. And I'll tell you, and I think that's one of the things. Having these kinds of experiences, having these kinds of places that bring people together are so important. I think when you look at what we're doing, and I'm going to pivot here a little bit, when you look at what we're doing in building the distillery at Kentucky Owl Park, which is like, it just is such an incredible, incredible project.
Yeah.
You talk about, again, a place that brings people together. And when I was first approached with, the opportunity to do this, to me, having the opportunity to work with not only a great company like Stoli, but also Shigeru Architects, which is like, and we'll talk about that, one of the greatest architects in history, one of the leading architects of the world, and then other great partners like Joseph and Joseph, which have built designed so many of the distilleries in Kentucky. But this team, it's an amazing opportunity. And again, as somebody that lives in Bardstown and really is always rooting to make Bardstown a even better place to be, this was a no-brainer for me.
Sure, man. That's great. So Matt, let's jump real quick and talk about the palate. And
good segue. I was going to say, before we go full Kentucky Owl, should we close out the close out the palate on this?
I think we should, Matt. Here? Good call, Matt. Simpatico right there.
That's
brilliant minds, my friend.
That's right. Spicy.
Yeah, man.
Can I just say that it's based on the nose that we picked up. I was not expecting so much heat and so much spice right on the front of the palate. I love it.
Yeah.
I love big old bold bouquet of peppercorns right up front. Then it turns sweet. I'm picking up, I think I've said this before, but I forget what it was, but like baklava. So there's kind of like a flaky,
honey
crusty,
pastry.
Honey type place that the sweetness definitely comes across from the honey, but there's like a flaky, pie crusty, phyllo doughy type taste to it.
Yep.
Then again, that spicy finish and the finish, it's like spicy, fresh ginger, like horseradish wasabi kind of heat finish on it, along with peppercorns, but it's got like more flavor than just that like cinnamon peppercorn finish that we always talk about with heat.
Yeah,
and that's really, I think, you're picking up on it too. And that's what John and Luis were developing and that's where you see that influence of that range of 4 to 11-year-olds. So you're getting some of that younger and you're getting some of that, that weeded, sweet notes. Mm-hmm. And then you get up into that, 10, 11-year-old product.
Right.
And you're getting that bold, that hit that you like, that punch, and I'm a big fan of that too.
Absolutely.
I personally just I like higher proof. I like stronger whiskey. And I've gotten to the point now where I like my favorite is, I like drinking Manhattan. And I like making that with a barrel proof product. So
Yeah.
you're like drinking something that's 115 proof. That's the way to drink it.
You can see there's a few Elijah Craig bottles over there, and in those two closets, there's probably about 35 or 40 different Elijah Craig barrel proofs. That just seems to kind of be my thing, Stag Juniors. But I agree.
This drink's way warmer than 100 proof.
Yeah, on the nose, it's like
quick.
on the nose, it's like, yeah, okay, 100 proof. That's why I ask. I'm like, what's the proof on it? But then to taste it and the finish on this is like, it's just so long. It goes on and on. And like you said, Matt, it does have that fluctuation. You get hit with that spiciness. So you did mention wheat. So this has wheated bourbon in it, or
There, yes, and
Okay.
there are aspects of it, yes, in that 4-year-old product.
okay, I gotcha. But then there's rye as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So you have a
because-
whole range. I
Yeah.
mean, they worked with an entire palette of
I gotcha.
multiple different products.
Yep, that makes sense. So you're getting a lot of different.
To be a fly on the wall during that process would have been super fun to see.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, this to me this is great. I mean, I really am enjoying this. And I'd seen that one. That's the St. Patrick's. And of course, around St. Patrick's, man, that bottle was all over Instagram.
Right.
I mean, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny is and this is like the beauty of like a privately owned company. So that is the genius of the founder of Stoli, which is, Yuri Scheffler. Actually, this like that label, the whole idea is his idea.
Oh, okay.
And and it's really funny. And I'll segue because it's a great story in the sense that this is how I got involved in Kentucky Al, and I got the great opportunity to meet him early on. But I'm going to dial the time back, and we're going to go back to 2016.
We need to do like the Wayne's roll.
Yeah, go back to 2016.
The year was 2016.
There you go. All right, now we're back.
It's 2016. It's probably right around the time that we started operations at Bardstown Bourbon. It might have been actually a little bit before. And there's this great restaurant in Bardstown called Cresso's Restaurant. If you're familiar with it, I mean, the Cress is an amazing story. That's another story for another time. Refugees from Bosnia in the early 90s, they lose their restaurant, 1,000-seat restaurant, to Milosevic. They get brought in by the church in Bardstown as refugees that come here with nothing, and they end up, building these great restaurants. And so we're in there, great friends, and I see the Kentucky Al bottle on the bar, and it's like, that's a beautiful product. I love it. The Wiseman's bourbon. It doesn't get any better than that. And so I look at it, it's bottled in Bardstown. Where's that from? So, well, there's probably one place, and it's, Strong Spirits. And I call my friend Michael over there, and I said, you got to introduce me. Who is this?
Yeah.
He says, Dixon Dedman. So he introduces me to Dixon. And Dixon comes over, and we talk at Bardstown. The idea then was like, is there something we could do with the brand? We'd love to produce it for you. Maybe we could invest in the brand. And we had a great, board member of ours that was also on the Stoli board. Introduced Dixon to him, and 2 weeks later, Stoli buys the brand. It's like somewhere in that time frame. That was great. And so then, we're doing the collaborative distilling program. Well, we're going to get the production contract to produce it. But before we do, David, you got to meet the founder of Stoli. It's like, okay, great. That'll be wonderful. So, again, you imagine like that whole area that's, again, empty, where the restaurant is.
Yeah.
So Mr. Scheffler, Yuri Scheffler comes. And by the way, as a side note, I want to talk about this. I could not be more proud of what Stoli Company has done in supporting Ukraine. And they took that, they grabbed that bull by the horns early on.
Good.
And they are doing everything that they possibly can to support that effort, including a new bottle that is a Stoli bottle that is decorated with the Ukrainian flag, with all the proceeds going to the World Kitchen. Mm-hmm. So let's come back to that. So the black SUVs come up, Mr. Scheffler walks out, and I start in immediately. Mr. Scheffler, welcome to Bardstown Bourbon Company. We're a celebration of the great craft of making whiskey. No made-up stories, no hidden legends. You've heard this, right? He says to me, stop. I know story. You have 15 minutes, show me facility. We can do that. Boom. So we go on the tour real quick. And you've been to the lab where we do the huge tasting. That was one of the early things that we developed.
Yeah.
We've got it all set up. Taste the product. He says to me, "You good boy, we do business together." And now, what's great about this is I'm only like a couple years younger than him. So I was like, that's it. And when you've got the sale and you close, you just keep quiet, right?
You just smile.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you.
Thank you.
And what was great about that, and that the concept of "you good boy," the good boy moniker has become a fun inside joke. But I'll tell you, they became a great customer, a very good, wonderful early on customer of Bardstown Bourbon Company. And, when, I stepped down as CEO, they reached back out to me and said, would you take this on? Of course, we had the relationship. Mr. Scheffler was just here on Monday of this past week, seeing the project, touring the site. And, and the CEO of the Stoli Group, the North American CEO, Damian McKinney, I knew because my sister, who her first job was she was a New York rep for Pink Vodka. After leaving Pink, went and worked for Damian McKinney. Then after that went on to Remy. Then she became the global head of marketing for Wild Turkey, and she's now with Campari. So whiskey is now in the family. But so Damian and I had a relationship. And he is a phenomenal CEO and a great leader for the Stoli Group. So it all came around.
Yeah. And
so, they approached me and I said, I'd absolutely love to do it. And the project it's a stunning project. And I'll tell you, it's, 420 acres in the middle of Bardstown.
Yeah.
You would have no idea that this property sits there. So if you're driving down as you're going kind of towards Bardstown Bourbon Company down the highway, you pass a little bit, you get a glimpse of the quarry, but then behind it is 400 plus acres. And over the last 18 months, the quarry's filled in with water. So you have 5 lakes with a peninsula that sits out in the middle where the Pyramid Distillery that you have seen will be built.
Yeah.
And it is stunningly beautiful. You'd have no idea. And even the people that grew up in Bardstown, that live there have no idea that this sits right there.
Yeah.
Because it was just a quarry.
Yeah. So do people just go swimming there, maybe?
There is that. And we catch them every now and then trying to do that.
Trying to go swimming in the quarry, right?
Right. But it is remarkably beautiful. And Shigirabam, who is the lead architect, has been called the accidental environmentalist. And so Shigirabam is a Japanese architect, did everything from the Aspen Art Museum here to the Swiss Geneva watch factory. He specializes in mass timber and a philosophy called biophilic design, where the idea is that if you're surrounded by natural elements, they affect you in a positive way. So if you're surrounded by a natural mass timber building, it has a positive impact and feeling on your work environment.
Okay.
And connecting nature and, to the physical surroundings. So you think about, all the idea of kind of transparency and authenticity and all of that at Bardstown, take that to the next level here.
Right.
Where you're now surrounded by the largest limestone body of water that you could imagine.
Nice.
With this distillery made from mass timber, and you start kind of connecting how you develop that into a really remarkable whiskey story. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so, I couldn't be more bullish and excited about where they're headed.
Yeah. We need to see that, Matt.
Yeah. So whenever you're ready, you come down.
All right.
We'll do a tour of the site.
That'd be
see
awesome,
it.
man.
We'll drink some more whiskey. We can do like episode, part B.
There you go.
Live
and we
from
can
the site.
swim. We can swim in the
I was
quarry.
just gonna say, you can.
Matt, you can
drag
do some
me out of
open
the
water.
quarry before. Yeah.
Do some 4,000 meter open water swimming.
Check it out.
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about the Wiseman, which we have poured up now, right? So David, you want to tell us about that?
So Wiseman is really a very interesting product here. So this is a blend. So the Wiseman bourbon, and by the way, Wiseman rye just came out.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'll mention that in a second, but Wiseman bourbon is a blend, and it's a blend of 4-year-old wheated and high rye bourbons, along with 8.5 and 5.5-year-old bourbons.
Okay.
Again, artfully put together by John Ray. And the idea here was, as you know, like many of the Kentucky Owl releases, they're expensive, they're hard to get, and for a good reason. But this one was, how do we develop a product? How does Stoli develop a product that becomes kind of a product that is more accessible?
Sure.
And so this coming in, anywhere between like $50 and $59, and this one just won double gold.
Oh yeah, San Francisco, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And so,
congratulations.
Well, congratulations goes to the team and to John. And it is really a beautiful blend. And, it works not only as a sipping bourbon, in my opinion, it is strong enough that it holds up within a cocktail. So you're at a little over 90 proof.
Okay.
So you get sipping bourbon and you get this really nice balance. And one of the things that 4-year-old product that's in there is the product that we made at Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Okay, yeah.
So like the circle completes itself.
Right. So you've got sourced from other Kentucky sources, but it's also the Bardstown Bourbon distillate.
Aged product that they own.
Right.
That was blended in. And now we're introducing the bourbon that was created for Stoli primarily by John Hargrove. And so you're now getting to see that kind of move in.
So you just call him Johnny Whiskey. You know, I just want to tell you every time you say John Hargrove,
just call him Johnny Whiskey.
Johnny Whiskey, right? Matt, so what are you picking up on this one, man, in terms of the nose?
I pick up the wheated factor of it. It's got like nice wheat bread, that fresh baked bread comes through on it. And then like a nice fruity, yeasty smell. I picked up peaches, which I've never smelled before on bourbon. There's
I get like a cherry flavor,
like a peachy nectarine.
Yeah, to me it comes, but I've had just cherry on the mind from drinking bourbon the last few days. It's like, ooh, that smells like cherries to me.
It's really funny, and I'll be like brutally honest on this one. So when I joined Stoli and I tried this for the first time, I wasn't sure what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And this is just, and I'm not saying this because I'm employed by the company. I actually wasn't sure. And we had a whole bunch of us at my house. And this was, I tried it for the first time. And this was actually right around the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Okay.
It's actually before I was with the company. And I tried it and I was like, this is like really, really good. And, I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I didn't know John Ray at that time.
Okay.
And, after the fact, I got to really know him. And I'll tell you something, talk about a talent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He is, and I'm going to brag about him for a second because he's one of those people that you could call him master distiller, you can call him blender, you can call him whatever you want. He's an incredible talent. And the difference between just blending, so you can blend kind of small releases and you can blend, but understanding large scale liquid planning over decades, right? And how you develop that, how you create a product and ensure that you have the supply looking out 10, 15, 20 years is an unbelievable art form.
Sure.
And a lot of the smaller companies or the growing companies don't understand that. They don't understand that the big companies have teams or small teams that do that. They do liquid planning. They do, they look at exactly what you need and when to get there. He understands that. He understands how to put together and compose a product like that. And I have come to appreciate how important that role is and how important that it's like it is an art, but it really is a science. It's mathematical in many ways too.
Yeah, and we've talked about that with other master distillers, Harlan Wheatley, for example, talking about planning, how do you plan 20 years down the road, 25, because that's what you guys are looking at, 15, right. 20, 25, what you need to have available based on what you're selling now, what your projections are, and how the hell do you keep track of, where it is?
You need to have people that know exactly how to do this.
Yeah.
And it really is remarkable when you think about it because, on one level, and again, we did this at Bardstown Bourbon Company. it's a lot easier to just make small releases, blend really great product together, and put them out. That's one, and that's great. That's important. If you do it well, it's really valuable. Bardstown does a great job at it. Kentucky Owl does a great job at it. But it's a whole different level to then say, we're going to create something like Wiseman, and we're going to develop a game plan to have a product like that over multiple years, and we're going to have it grow.
So this will be
a
like
whole different exercise.
Yeah. But that'll be kind of like a flagship then, is that?
Yeah, and then you look at the rye, and the Wiseman rye is a estate Bardstown Bourbon Company produced rye that we created for them, and it's an exceptional product. You'll see it out there. It's actually the first glimpse of that kind of liquid.
Yeah, but now that was just released. Is that right?
It was just released.
That's what I thought.
Just released.
I haven't seen it yet. Of course, I haven't.
Well, what's crazy is as I was driving over here, of course, you guys strategically are located right next to Total Wine. That's no surprise, right?
That's why I moved. That's why I moved to this house.
Right,
because
you can walk to Total Wine
right?
from here.
And Liquor Barn, Hamburg is just another, not even half mile beyond that. Right?
But you could walk from your house to.
I can walk to both,
and you probably have.
I'm not going to admit to that.
Well, I would
walk.
I maybe ride my bike.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I said, I wanted to see if I could. I don't even have the rye at our office. Right. That's how hard some of this stuff is to get. And I went in there like, no, we don't have it. We're like trying to get it. I was like, well, that's great.
Did you pull out the card and say, do you not know who I am?
No, never. Nobody cares who I am, honestly. So
I'm just kidding with you, man.
No, it's true. It's funny. You say that because there were those moments at Bardstown too, where like people are like, will you sign the bottle? Why the hell do you want me to sign the bottle?
Yeah.
But I'm not the one. You want John, you want Steve Nally, you want Dan Calloway, you want like those. That's who you want to sign the bottle.
Yeah.
Why do you want me to sign the bottle? My signature's useless there.
But you're part of it, man. So you're a big part of it. And there's no question about that. So I hate to do this because I know we got some things we want to talk about because we didn't talk a lot about the history though of Kentucky Owl. So
let's talk about it.
You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's an amazing history because it goes back to, it's the Dedman family and, and Dixon Dedman and his relatives and bringing the brand back, and the Beaumont Inn. It's an absolutely amazing history.
That Harrodsburg?
Yes.
Harrodsburg.
Yeah, and if you haven't been there, it's great.
I have not been there.
Oh, you got to go.
I hate to admit it.
So no, you got to go.
Never met Dixon.
Great town.
Okay.
Dixon's a wonderful, wonderful individual. Like when you talk about like passion and blending and all of those things.
Yeah.
Like he just is, that's him. Right. And so, and he loves it. And so it's, this passion of like bringing back a family product.
Yeah.
And he did that. And so, the whole history of Kentucky Owl and where it is going with Stoli is obviously it's all rooted on the Dedman family and their legacy. And now it's taking it to the next, writing the next chapter in the book.
Right.
And so that next chapter is very much written by what you're going to see at the park and, and where it's headed.
Very nice. Yeah. That's going to be great, man. I can't wait to come down there and check. I mean, there's nothing there yet. Right. So, but it'll be
things to come.
Yeah.
Things to come.
Speaking of things to come, I know we're going to finish the palate and finish on the Wiseman in round 3, but we've also got something else to come that's going to be pretty special. That we're going to taste. We're going to give a little teaser. So we'll taste that in round 3.
Something that only the Bourbon Life Podcast would be at the level to receive.
Woo!
Swift kick in the pants is there
you go.
Level we're at.
There you go. Well, guys, we're at the end of round 2, so let's just take a quick break. Get a word from our sponsors. Matt, you can laugh at me. I have to take a bathroom break or something, right? Because I'm old. Yeah, there you go. So let's just take a quick break. Get a word from our sponsor, and we'll be back with more with David Mandell in just a few minutes. Spirits of French Lick crafts their spirits using only the finest agricultural product that has defined character, following their motto, respect the grain. They lead the way in representing the quality of the Hoosier artisan distilling process while paying tribute to its inseparable past. By implementing best practices from those early times, combined with modern touches, Spirits of French Lick has created a truly unique place in the industry. Spirits of French Lick products are distributed throughout Indiana, Kentucky, and Missouri, and can also be purchased online through Sealbox at sealbox.com. Visit spiritsofFrenchlick.com to learn more information and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, with me as always, live here in the Bourbon Life studios around the, Matt, what do you call it?
The table.
Jesus. Yeah, live around the table. It's the Bourbon Life. Thanks, Matt. No, the nights of the flight, what do you call it?
Well, when we get everybody together, it's flights of the round.
Okay, flights of the round, even though it's a rectangular table.
TBLPC FOTL.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
FOTR, excuse me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anyway, but welcome back, Matt. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, man. I really am doing well this evening. We're having a great time. How are you? You're fresh off the road. You just drove into town a few hours ago.
I did, man. And now I'm drinking and I'm starting to feel pretty good, Matt. So you might have to take over.
We're at that point of the podcast.
We're getting close to that point, Matt.
All right. Just give me the signal.
I think I had some crackers and water earlier today.
Oh God. Yeah. Shine the Batman light on the ceiling here, and I'll know when to take over.
No. I'm good. I'm doing good. Man, we're having a good show. I'm having a lot of fun tonight. How about you?
I'm having a great time. Why don't you let our listeners know who we've got joining us?
Me? That's your job.
I know, but I'm taking control.
All right. David Mandell from Kentucky Real Estate and co-founder of Bardstown Bourbon. I'm looking so I don't miss anything. Chairman of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. David, welcome back for round 3. Thank you so much for hanging out and staying and not leaving.
No, I mean, I'll stay. I'm looking around this room and there's
we
more
got a
bourbon
couch
here. I mean,
a couch.
I might stay with you guys all week.
We got a guest bedroom upstairs. It's like your own. Yeah. This is like the west wing of the house above us. So we're on the east wing, my wife and I. So you can have the entire upstairs west wing, man.
You might regret that.
No, you're good to go, man. You wouldn't be the first Bourbon Life podcast person to guest to actually stay. We've had, Nate Woodruff, Whiskey with a View, stayed here. Eric from Bourbon in Time, Scotch in Time, whatever. He stayed here a couple times. So yeah, you would not be the first.
If I didn't live so close, chances are I would probably just take up residence.
Following in good footsteps there.
Yeah.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, welcome back, man. We're happy you hung around with us.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about the Wiseman here. So Matt, you want to jump in and talk about the palate and the finish on the Wiseman that we have poured up?
Sure. Let me grab a quick little sip here just to refresh myself.
We jumped in too fast. Sorry about that, Matt. See, that's what happens when I start drinking too much on crackers and water, man.
It's I pick up the sweetness right away. It's got like a nutty sweetness to it.
Okay.
Like not peanut, it's certainly not that pronounced, but maybe like a walnut or even like a toasted pine nut type flavor. I think again, so we talked about the wheat on the nose coming through. I think some of the wheated flavor is in there. It's got like a real velvety taste to it, but then this one, more than the St. Patty's Day, I'm picking up some of the rye. There's some mint, there's something a little herbal coming across in there. Some of those rye spices and kind of those baking flavors are in it as well. There's a little bit of peppercorn, some cardamom as well, and then again, I'm picking up like some citrus, some orange zest or some orange peel coming down the back end.
That's like that high rye bourbon that's in there, that young 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, like a honey straw type flavor, like an orange blossom honey.
Yeah. Yeah. I can.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You know, to me, it's more of like a cinnamon than peppercorn to me on this one. But that honey kind of sweetness comes through as well. So yeah, man. I'm definitely enjoying it, David.
It's great, and you get that punch, you know, from that older, that 8.5-year-old that goes in there, and that 5.5, and that's what John Ray was really looking at. Is you get those really nice young bright notes from the wheated and the high rye 4-year-old, and then you hit it with that 5.5 and 8.5-year-old. So you get that, what that classic Kentucky Owl drinker likes. You get that punch in the palate from the older product, and then you get that sweetness and the smoothness. So it ends up really being, a really beautiful, versatile, bourbon that you can drink neat and also stands up well in a cocktail.
And this is only like 90.8 proof.
Yeah, that's right.
It's got a whole lot of flavor for 90.8 proof.
Jesus, yeah, it does, man. I mean, honestly, I'm like, this is,
at a really great price point too. And I think that was really part of what the company was striving for here.
Right.
Is, great profile of wonderful limited releases in Kentucky Owl, expensive,
Sure.
but also how do you develop something that again is more accessible, and that's the Wiseman.
And I think, David, as you've looked around, because you kind of explored the basement setup here, and there's not Kentucky Owl bottles, a lot of them, and I don't mean that it's not anything against Kentucky Owl, but number one, just the accessibility, it's it's hard to get them. And number two, the price point, sometimes it's kind of high. So this, for me, the Wiseman, this is a home run, man. There's no question about it. And it's not to say that the St. Patty's, because I was so jealous seeing all those pictures on Instagram. I was like, damn it, I wish I could have gotten one of those.
And here it is.
Yeah, and here it is. But yeah, so this Wiseman at that 50 to 55 whatever price point, I mean, it's a great opportunity for people to get some exposure to what you guys are doing there. There's no doubt about it.
Well, thank you. I'll say thank you on behalf of the company, but again, that credit goes to John Ray and the team there. I mean, they've done a beautiful job.
Yeah. And the bottle is really cool too. I like the label because you got there's a map on the back. Is that right?
There is, and there's also the pyramids, which are the distillery that's going to be built. At the park too. So
okay, we missed that on the first.
On the nice stuff on there.
Yeah, the first
this
round.
Is like National Treasure, Nicolas Cage.
That's
style.
exactly right, man.
Like,
it's like follow the arrow to the Yeah, we missed that when we reviewed it. We did not realize that, but we talked about the label, we talked about the map on the back and everything. So that's really cool, man. So let's talk about the Bourbon Festival.
Let's talk about it.
That'd be great, David.
Yes,
let's do that.
Because now you're going into another area that I'm extremely, extremely passionate about, and I'll tell you, the Kentucky Bourbon Festival again, May 11th. Tickets go on sale. kybourbonfestival.com. Go to the website, sign up, get your tickets. But Kentucky Bourbon Festival has an incredible history. And so I have the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants here because we're going to our 31st year.
Yep.
But the festival has a very, very interesting history. And, we're creating a festival now with an experience and in a place in the bourbon capital of the world where you can't get this experience anywhere else. The goal here and our mission is to not only promote Kentucky bourbon, but Bardstown is the bourbon capital of the world. And so in the past, the festival in many ways was kind of a fragmented festival. You had aspects where you had bourbon tasting and ticketed events that were off-site, and you had a lawn where you had dry goods, and it was a little bit more like a county fair, and it had, it had its place.
Sure. Right.
And the history was understood. It was more of an industry event and then a community festival that developed around it for people in the industry. And as time evolved and as the industry evolved, the problem was that the festival didn't evolve with where the industry was going.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so we all saw this, and we got to a point where, and this was a very real point, we were either shutting the festival down or we were going to change. It was that kind of inflection point. The festival had lost money for multiple years, but it was more than that. For the bourbon companies, it's not about money. I want to make that very clear. It's about time and focus.
Yeah.
And so no longer could you take your entire marketing team, put them, in a place if you weren't going to be exposing those people, your team and your brands to new people. Mm-hmm. And so it's about time. And so as bourbon is growing, not only domestically and internationally, where you put your team and how you use them is really important. So we got to this point where we can't just continue to have this festival here where we're not exposing the product to new people.
Right.
And the funny thing is in the past, you actually didn't have on the main lawn, you didn't have bourbon poured and sampled. You had a beer garden and you had dry goods.
Yeah.
And you had kids and you had insurance companies selling and
So it was
scrub brushes.
kind of like a county fair. I mean, if you're from Kentucky.
where there's like a mercantile tent.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Sure, right.
But if you're going to do if you're going to do it right, you got to do it. And so when I took over as chairman, that was the goal. We said, we're going to do this. So first thing is we're going to hire somebody that knows how to run festivals. That's Randy Prossi.
Yeah.
You built the Gettysburg Craft Beer Festival. He ran operations for the Wisconsin State Fair. He ran operations for the Derby. Great. So we brought him in.
Yeah. The Derby.
The Derby. Remember
Just
that?
yeah.
that
happening
little
this week.
that little race that's coming up. Well, this comes out Friday, so tomorrow. Yeah. If you're
So he said,
listening.
okay, we do that, and then we have to create the opportunity for new customers to interact directly with the product in an environment that you can't create anywhere else. So let's bring it all outside. Let's put it on the lawn. We have to make you ticketed,
Right.
because guess what? If it's bourbon and it's a festival, you got to be 21 and older.
Right.
Very simple.
Sure.
21 and older, and we're going to create this amazing experience. So we started with that concept. Well, COVID hit, so we had to scrap it that first year.
Right.
That was the first year. And so we remarkably made it through because we did a virtual festival. And kudos to Randy and the team. And then last year was the first year we did it.
Right.
And first year we did it in its new form where you actually got to sample. You got to go around to all of the great, all of the great booths, sample. And we also made it that if you're going to be a vendor, you have to have a nexus to bourbon. You can't come sell insurance or gutter helmet or something like that.
Right.
Nothing wrong with gutter helmet.
Right.
But it has to be a connection to bourbon, right? And so we set this out, and we also restructured the festival organization and the board so that we brought in the stakeholders, the bourbon companies, the people. And as I tell the community, and we talk about all the time, this is an economic catalyst. This is the kind of thing that helps Bardstown as much as it helps the distilleries. We're bringing, people
Sure.
from all over the world, and what are they going to do? They're going to spend money. They're going to fill the hotels. They're going to go in and out of the festival, and that's the vision, is this kind of symbiotic relationship where you come, you go to the festival during the day, you go out to the distilleries, you go out to other events. And so what did we learn last year? We learned biggest thing, and the biggest change for this year is this is what we learned. We did this kind of single ticketing each day where you'd pay to come in and then you buy a wristband. Well, that didn't work. Because why didn't it work? Well, one of the reasons it didn't work is because it became very clear that if you came in, everybody was pouring bourbon, right? And so the marketing team, you weren't buying the wristbands, right? So, okay.
Right.
All right. No harm, no foul. We learned
That was kind of
lesson.
the experience I had. So.
I was just saying,
And I had a blast. I just got to say.
But no one was checking on your tabs, right? So it was
No, I
like
had the
within
media
15 minutes.
pass. Everybody was bringing me right over. They wanted to talk to me.
So we said, how do we? Okay, we have to fix that. And so, what everybody said was, and we got the overwhelming feedback from people that came in said, make it easy for us. Just include the sampling. So now it's one ticket price, 3 days, $125, all your sampling included.
Nice.
You can come in, you can go out, you can go into the festival, and we've got it programmed so all different things that are going to be taking place, doing fewer things better, and just really focusing on the experience. By the way, this is going to take us multiple years to get this right. This is an evolutionary process.
right. Right.
But now we've got almost 40 distilleries participating.
Wow.
You're going to be able to sample. So $125, sample all 3 days. I'm not allowed to say unlimited sampling, so I'm going to say all sampling included. But, you really get to have a wonderful time there. More food vendors. We don't have the same restrictions that we had with COVID, which we had last year. I mean, we were scrambling. We were doing testing.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you remember what it was like a year ago.
I actually had COVID last year
Well, I did too.
during the festival, so I was not able to go. So Matt went and had a great time, obviously.
That's right. I fell on that grenade for us.
I know,
Said
man.
you had
I
to do
appreciate
it.
that. He brought me that wee Glencairn, though, which is awesome, which I have upstairs. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, so this year.
You want to hear the crazy story about last year?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this story.
You tell us.
This is a crazy story. So we were 2 days before the start of the festival. Randy's got the tents up. I'm like, everybody's working like crazy. I mean, this is something like, it's never been put together like this. We got a biblical flood 2 days before. I don't know if you remember this. We got 6 inches of rain in 2 hours. So if you think about that, that is like a staggering amount. And I remember it's coming down, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to have to cancel this festival. We made it through, we got through the virtual festival. Here we are we don't get through this, we don't make it. I mean, that rain, it was coming down. It knocked the tents down. It was like an absolute disaster zone. So Busick Construction, Tommy Blinko, Donald Blinko. So the construction company that built Bardstown Bourbon Company, built Luxrow, built Log Still, is building the new Heaven Hill facility, like on and on. Dear friends, also one of the reasons why Bardstown Bourbon Company is so successful. Tommy always said to me, he's like, David, if you ever have a problem, you call me. And I actually never pulled that card. This goes back to 2014.
Wow.
Like you can imagine like how you could pull that card, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So never pull that card. It's downpouring. We get out, we walk out there, stuff's falling down. It is a mess. Like the ground is like just mud. It's soaked, it's destroyed. I called up Tommy and I said, I'm pulling the card. I said, need your help. He's like, David, we'll be there. He sent 50 guys, construction company. I'll tell you what he did. They went to two of the local companies that have carpet.
Uh-huh.
They bought all the indoor outdoor carpet they had. If you remember, they actually dug out all the mud. They brought the full construction company out there, dug out all the mold and carpeted the entire outside area.
Holy crap.
With like 3 layers of indoor outdoor carpet. It was unbelievable. So all those walkways that you had that were 6 inches in mud, they dug it out, they carpeted it. We got the festival off thanks to that kind of like team spirit.
Yeah.
So that being said, we got through last year. We learned a lot and we're going to continue to improve. And the other great thing that's happening this year is we got, thanks to Representative Chad McCoy, who isn't running for re-election but has done more for this industry than anybody else, we passed the new law that allows bottle sales at festivals in Kentucky.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
Single one of the distilleries.
Okay.
So you can have Justin's selling all the special picks.
Right. Your picks for the...
And then you have the distilleries that can have a bottle shop in every tent selling directly to participants. Yeah, master distillers signing. They can bring anything they want. They can sell it, and they get to keep the proceeds.
It's
a game changer.
That's what I saw last time, because there were so many places, so many distilleries like, well, I've heard of you, but I've never seen you on the shelf. I can't find your stuff anywhere. Like, what can I do about this? And they'd say, talk to your distributor.
But now...
Yeah.
They're going to have a bottle shop in the tent. You can come in and you can buy it. And so think about like not only this year and next year and the year after, this festival, and I can promise you this is going to become the festival where you come and you get the most interesting bottles that you can get anywhere in the country in one place. You're not even going to be able to bring enough money to buy it all. Or be able to take it home. You're going to have to come with a car, load it all in the back, and then take it out of here. It's going to be incredible.
And
incredible.
You said what, 40 distilleries?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a lot of bottles.
That's a lot of bottles. And then, it's going to take a little time, but let their marketing engines catch up with this. And you can think about all of a sudden, like, I can have limited releases.
Oh, yeah.
I can have special stuff for the Bourbon Festival. I can have signed bottles. Like, it goes on and on and on. So this is going to be, I think this is the single greatest development legally that is going to build this festival into the future.
So was that a recent law that passed?
Or was that 2 months ago?
Like, okay, that was in this session, right?
Oh,
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
So,
okay. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I had heard, I hadn't followed it, as an attorney, I should probably do that.
No,
right?
but you know why? It was tucked in the bill. That also another very important development that allows a distilled spirits permit holder, so a DSP holder, to have one tasting room located in the state without having to put in a still. So like, for example, if you are a distillery in Louisville, you could buy or lease a storefront in Bardstown.
Okay.
And you could have a shop there to sell bottles, do tastings, and sell merchandise without having to put a still in.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
Like we're starting to catch up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put this out there for anybody who's listening. If you are a downtown distillery owner in Louisville, and I can think of some wonderful ones up there,
Yes.
Whether it's Rabbit Hole, whether it's Angel's Envy,
Right.
whether it's Peerless, and you want a presence in the bourbon capital of the world, that's a way to do it.
Come on
Get a
down.
storefront,
Yeah.
open up a tasting room, open up a bottle shop right in Main Street, Bardstown.
Sure.
And guess what? I would bet you that it won't be long until the distilleries in Bardstown do the same thing in Louisville.
Oh, that's a good point. Very nice. That's a challenge right here on the Bourbon Life Podcast.
First to hear it right here.
Thrown down by David Mandell.
And if you want to know one of the projects I'm going to be working on as
Yeah.
my community service hours,
Nice.
it's going to be that.
That's going to be it. All right. No, that's great. So let's talk about this very special pour that we have poured up, David. This is something you brought tonight it's a Bourbon Life exclusive.
Exclusive.
There you go, man.
It is.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. So tell us,
First time on
you
on
might as
any
well
kind
pour me a
of
little
public
bit more.
release of this.
Just to, yeah, thanks.
And so this is and when you said that you got to bring something special.
If you're going to come to my house,
If you're going to come, you got to bring it,
that's
right?
If you're going to come to the
and
studios,
I thought,
David,
wait
gotta,
a second. Well, this is like the best thing I could possibly bring.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is a 15-year-old bourbon,
Wow.
Kentucky bourbon, and it's been finished right now for 2 years in Mizunara oak. It's not going to come out. So this Kentucky Owl release will not come out until some special date related to the development of Kentucky Owl Park. So it could be the finishing of the distillery, but what you are tasting now is like history in the making. So you've got this incredible, aged Kentucky bourbon, and I think when it went into Mizunara oak, it was like 13 years old. It's been in that oak for over 2 years, and the reason I know that is we had these Mizunara oak barrels sitting at Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Okay.
And I remember at the time thinking I think it was 10 of them. This is like one of the most valuable things sitting in this distillery at the moment. Because those barrels, they're like $5,000-$7,000
Oh, yeah.
a piece. They're hard to get.
Mizunara oak, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they're just sitting there, right? And then, of course, we had, the 12, 13-year-old bourbon that was sitting next to them in totes. And this project started that long ago. And so you're tasting it and you're getting a sense of how, I don't even want to say it. You guys tell me what you think.
Matt, what do you think, man? Tell me.
I don't know. I've been sitting here since we started this segment trying to really get a good handle on what I've got going on here.
Yeah.
And that's so there are 10 barrels of it. This is one barrel. This is 107 proof.
Yeah.
So it's barrel strength. It's funny because I have samples of all the barrels and they range from anywhere from 107 up to 113 or 114 proof. So there's a wide kind of variety there. Mm-hmm. And it is this one was actually sampled. I'm just looking at it right here. 10/27/21. So that's when this sample was pulled.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it, man.
Yeah. So it's not over oaky. Sometimes you think 15 years, you think you're going to start chewing wood and smelling bark. It's certainly not that way. It's got the soft, mature nose to it. I get some of the older notes, kind of like vanilla and nougat.
It's funny you say that.
I
get like a cinnamon, almost like you're getting that influence of the Mizunara. So taking it and then putting into those barrels, you're getting that Mizunara oak, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Do you get red wine fruits at all? I get some plum, almost like a little bit of savory grape with it as well. Maybe a little bit of blackberry or raspberry.
Again, my palate is it falls into very basic, bad.
Nice.
Decent,
Yeah.
Really good.
Like me.
I'm in the really good
Yummo.
category right
Yummo.
here. That's how I am.
All right. So here's
Anybody that knows me will joke about my palate. It's
That's all right.
I can't pull out those kinds of things, but what I can do is tell you it's not good or it's really good.
Hey, sometimes
it's okay. It's
sometimes binary rating of
Right.
0 or 1 is
that's where I am.
exactly right.
you got to be there.
You're a good boy.
That's right. Good boy. That's it.
All right. So I would say this is probably as close to a modern day Dusty as I have had. And one of my favorite bourbons that I've had was a was at Bardstown Bourbon. It was a 1969 10-year-old, very extra old Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
That Dan let me sample. Yeah, back in 2019. And this to me is very reminiscent
Of that.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably one of the closest things that I've ever smelled that's a modern day whiskey that reminds me
Of that.
which is by far my favorite bourbon I've ever had.
That's great.
Yeah. So this has just got those very unique notes, very brown, sugary, sweet, a little bit of oakiness to it. But man, this is
good.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very good. We're going to give it a 1.
Yeah. And it's funny because I very much feel this way too. It's like, you experiment with these things, you just let them go.
Yeah.
And so, we push the envelope at Bardstown on finishing. Kentucky Owl's pushing things on finishing. You just let it go. Mm-hmm. There was always these kind of things that rules in the industry. Well, you don't want to finish more than 6 months. You don't want to do this. You're like, who says? Who says?
Right.
And I remember, when we created collaboration at Bardstown, that started over dinner with myself and Joe Herron, and I'll never forget it. That was the beginning of that series. Joe Herron, who was the founder of Copper and Kings, a dear, dear friend. And so we were sitting there over dinner, and we're like, what can we do together? We have an inventory of this old age 12-year-old. We had 21% rye bourbon. We had 36% rye. Like, let's finish it in a Muscat Mistel barrel, which he had, and let's finish in American brandy barrels. If you remember those were the square bottles, the original releases.
The original.
That's what started the whole collaborative series. We did it. We just let it go. We let it go 18 months. Joe and I had this philosophy, and I'll give him credit for this. Just let it go. Just let it go, see how it goes. Don't, just enjoy it. And I said to Joe after we did it, I said, we came up with collaboration. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing was that glass that we used was from a project that we had before Bardstown Bourbon Company. We just used the glass for it. And I said to Joe, do you mind if we take that word collaboration and we make it the collaborative series? He's like, no, David, do whatever you want with it. He's like, we just love making things. And that's when that whole collaborative series, you see, that's how it started.
Wow.
So the Prisoner wine,
right,
the LeBlaud, right. The things that we do with Goodwood, everything that you see there, that started, that was the moment.
Yeah. And
we put away, 10 years of products, essentially, roughly, when during that period. And we just saw this amazing thing. And that's what it is, a story of great companies working together, but pushing boundaries and accepted, these kinds of accepted truths that may not really be true.
Well, we're not going to talk about the palate and the finish on this, Matt. We're going to leave that one to everybody. So when this comes out eventually, I'm just going to say, based on what I'm smelling and tasting right now, this is something that,
it's good, right?
Holy shit.
It's going to keep getting better.
Put me on the wait list.
I'll
give you my deposit right now.
Yeah.
There we go.
No kidding. Ben right now.
But you're getting a little glimpse in the future. And I can say that no other podcast, nobody else in media has gotten that glimpse.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate that very, very much. Mm-hmm. So
you guys are the first.
Well, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Appreciate it, David. So talking to the future, let's, because we're kind of close to the end of round 3. So let's talk about the future of Kentucky Owl, man. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, I know you guys are building the distillery. Mm-hmm. So tell everybody, about what to expect and what's coming down the pipe.
Follow it. It's a very, it's a long-ranging project.
Okay.
It's one that it's very complicated, but it's extremely beautiful. There's a lot coming on it. So keep an eye on it. And, it's a very exciting thing. And watch Kentucky Owl, watch where it heads. Some great things to come.
Great. So in terms of time frame, any idea what we're looking at?
Well, there's, again, I would say over the next year, you're going to start seeing dirt moving out there.
Okay.
I don't want to give too much away. You got some things that are coming.
Okay. All right.
On creating a place and an experience that allows you to engage while construction is taking place.
Okay.
Something unique and new.
Yeah.
in the ideas. And like everything else with this project, there will be new and exciting developments all the way.
So finding information about you guys and about what's going on in your products, where can people do that?
No, just, follow us online, follow us on social media, obviously Kentucky Al. I mean, you just follow the company.
Okay. That sounds good. So before we wrap it up, Matt, you got final thoughts over there?
It's hard to put final thoughts to this one. It's been such an evening for us recording here.
I know. It's like
always,
I could keep going.
Yeah. Sorry.
I took a drink and it's like, ooh, that caught wrong. Yeah.
It's always the best show when I feel like I haven't had to say much. And this has been absolutely the case. You've been, David, you're a great storyteller with a great story, but also one of the things I appreciate most is how humble you are and how quick you are to give credit where you feel credit is due.
Well, it's true. And I think, my personal, and I've watched this over the course of my career, and I think the most important thing you can do as a leader is make sure that the people that are really driving, your job as leader is to set the vision, to set the pace, and to drive the business forward. And everybody below, I don't mean below,
right,
along with you, you need to make sure that they are given the right credit for what they're doing, because they're building the business with you. You're doing it hand in hand. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, than an insecure leader that doesn't give credit to his or her, followers and comrades and employees, everybody that works together.
Sure.
That's the most important thing.
Yep.
And if you develop that kind of culture, then everybody moves forward together, because it's about empowering everybody else.
Right.
Because, again, I don't have all the ideas, but you want to create the environment where everybody feels free to really, really go create, develop. And that's what's so exciting about, this industry.
Yep. Very nice. That's why I have Matt, because Matt's just, the palate, everything. He's just a great co-host.
That's right.
You guys got that right here.
Feel so appreciated. Right?
You are, man.
Yeah.
Except when you make fun of my notes, but that's all right. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. But before I do, I want to thank all of our sponsors. We appreciate all their support. I also want to thank all of our listeners. We appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out every week. And if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. You can follow us at The Bourbon Life. Send us a direct message, or you can email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you guys, suggestions, comments, anything you have for us. We'd like to hear that from you guys. Also, you can leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. We would really appreciate that as well. And with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Whether it's rye, sour mash Tennessee whiskey, or bourbon, Davidson Reserve has something delicious to offer any whiskey lover's palate. Pick up a bottle of one of our award-winning Davidson Reserve whiskeys from your local retailer today. Visit www.davidsonreserve.com for more information. And cheers to drinking local.